Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with another Power Rangers theory video surrounding the Morphin Masters. I'm only doing this one because it's something I thought of while doing another video, and it kind of springboarded a topic when I was talking about how previous mentors and characters that we've seen in Power Rangers could be involved with them. And when I got to the Keepers, I thought of this whole other scenario that I didn't want to bog that video down with and make it even longer, and I wanted to talk about it specifically here. So it's basically how the Keepers could be connected to the Morphin Masters, potentially. And before we get started, as always, I just want to remind you to like the video if you enjoy it, and climb the steps and ring that bell and hit the subscribe button so you get the notifications for all my videos like this and more, including reviews. So, first of all, let's lay down what we know about the Morphin Masters and about the Keepers and how they might be connected. So the Morphin Masters are these beings that study the grid and basically have become these godlike beings that can create powers and manipulate the grid or are involved in it somehow. And we've seen that they have created powers in the past, including the Dino Fury ones and the Energems from Dino Charge, which is why that's the connection we have to the Keepers, is they created the Energems. So we know that. Which is going to be important also, is we also know that they have some types of allies, like the emissaries that speak on behalf of them, and characters like Zordon that obviously know of them and somehow are an ally to them. I don't want to say Zordon's like a servant or a follower of them, but he clearly knows of them and is some sort of ally and tries to get in touch with them from time to time, at least in the comics universe. So that's what we know about them that's important. I think the two things to remember is they created the Energems and that they have some types of allies and followers. Now for Keeper, what we know about them is Keeper, the main Keeper, that's his name and profession apparently, because he appoints someone else a Keeper, but they call him Keeper. I'm just saying the word Keeper a lot and I apologize. But Keeper wears a robe, he has a staff, he was absent for a lot of Dino Charge just randomly, but he has all these powers and he guards over the Energems. And at the end of the series, he appointed Heckle a Keeper to help guard over the Dark Energem. And so apparently he has the power to do that. So the connective tissue there is obviously the Energems. The Morphin Masters created them and Keeper protects them. So that's how they're connected. So how could that be expanded upon? Well, I have one of two ideas. One is that the Keepers are sort of like the emissaries or like Zordon, and they're part of the echelon of the Morphin Masters, where they have all these, maybe the Morphin Masters have these different categories of allies or helpers or servants or whatever you want to call them, and the Keepers are that. And they make them, and they give them their powers, and maybe they all somehow have the power to then recruit others to look over the artifacts they've created, such as the Energems. And that's why Keeper exists, is he's somehow connected in the hierarchy of the Morphin Masters, you know, chart of employees to watch over their artifact of the Energems. Now that does create a question of like, well, why was no one watching over the Nexus Prism, or the Dino Gems, or the Dino Fury powers? And you know, if that's the case, maybe there's a specific reason the Energems had to be guarded. Maybe the other ones were guarded, we didn't know about it. Maybe their guards were killed, I don't know. The other theory, though, is they're not directly involved with the Morphin Masters, and the Keepers are effectively admirers of the Morphin Masters. Sort of like a religion, for lack of a better word, or some sort of order that was created that know things like the Energems were created by the Morphin Masters and effectively revere them and want to protect them, and so they created their own order, the Order of the Keepers, in order to protect things like that. Again, it creates questions of why weren't other powers protected, but maybe there are other powers that were created by the Morphin Masters we don't know about that are protected by the Keepers, or maybe they're watching the other ones from afar. But I kind of like that idea better because as much as I'm enjoying talking about this topic and all of the possibilities, I don't want the Morphin Masters' fingers in everything, but at the same time, I think the revelations we've gotten really expands the mythology, and I think this second option I have is kind of a cool way of not making the Morphin Masters directly involved with something else, but expanding the universe, and the idea that these Keeper characters are aware of the Morphin Masters and want to sort of protect what they've created. And I think that's kind of a cool idea to tie it together, but not directly. And that would also explain why Keeper would appoint another Keeper and have the authority to do so. And I also bring this up because I think this is something that potentially could be explained. You know, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. There's been some surprises in Dino Fury, stuff that they've addressed that I never expected them to address in a million years. But for all I know, that's the end of it, and we'll never get anything more. We'll only get a couple other little nuggets. But considering how often Dino Charge has been appearing since its end, I think that could definitely be something that could be addressed in the future, where the Keepers come from, if they're somehow connected, especially since they went back to the Wall of the Energems. I think that could be interesting. But what do you guys think? Do you think the Keepers are in any way connected to the Morphin Masters? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get our videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.